Welcome to Psychic Social, brought to you by psychic.co.uk.
On this episode of Psychic Social.
It hit the national headlines, and as soon as I was looking at this picture of this girl, I felt as if someone was flicking my nose. And I said to my ex-lover, I said, the person they're looking for, I said, is underneath the nose of the police.
Welcome to Psychic Social with me, Oliver Duke, the podcast that explores all things from the psychic and spiritual perspectives, including interviews with famous psychic practitioners, discussions about the afterlife, the paranormal, and much more. So relax and enjoy the show. Today's guest is a psychic medium based in Newport, South Wales. He possesses many different psychic abilities, including medium clairvoyance, clairsentience, and Clairgustance Psychometry. He has studied at the world-renowned Arthur Findlay College, the College of Spiritualism and Psychic Sciences. Now, this has led him to demonstrate his wonderful clairvoyance at various events, including a show at Alexandra Palace in London. The person I'm talking about is James Levesconte, so let's get talking with him right now. Hi James, and welcome to Psychic Social. How are you today?
Hi Oliver, very well, thank you. Good to speak to you.
And it's great to have you on the show, James. What have you been up to today?
To be honest with you, I've literally just been going through my emails. People are obviously starting to make a few inquiries for readings. As such, obviously, my usual way of doing readings, which is private one-to-ones, face-to-face, are all on hold. So people are obviously looking at my website and looking at various services I have to offer, and WhatsApp and email readings seem to be the people's interest at this moment.
Right, okay. And how's it been for you? Obviously, we've been locked down by the UK government in our houses for the last sort of 3.5 weeks, is it now? 3 and a bit weeks. What have you been up to during that time, and how have you been sort of managing things?
Trying to keep the weight off is one thing which I've been managing quite well. I think we've all got to be careful, especially looking after ourselves. Most importantly, drinking lots of water, even though everyone's been sort of posting things with regards to enjoying themselves, which is great. But at the same time, we are in a crisis situation in this country. None of us want to be in this position ourselves, but we all must adhere to what is happening out there and stay safe. But for myself, I've got various interests outside of my psychic work that keep me occupied. I do a bit of reading. I've got other interests which are very geeky, but it's a thing that blokes like to do. So, yeah.
Sure, sounds good. I mean, is there anything that obviously there are going to be an awful lot of people that are kind of feeling quite down about the situation at the moment, and obviously everyone's trying to stay positive. Is there anything that people can do to sort of or feel to sort of raise their positive vibrations at the moment? Well,
there's some things that we can do, and what I've done is I've studied the laws of attraction. I've read up on the laws of attraction, and one of the things, if you know about LOA, is about gratitude. And what I've been doing is when I get up every day, is writing in my diary, my gratitude diary, about the things I'm grateful for the day. That's something that you can do. I always say, whenever you're in a position of where you are completely isolated, always have something in mind to do, planning ahead, what you're going to do this day, what you're going to do that day. It keeps your mind focused. Other things as well, health and wellness. It's important. If you've never really touched on meditation, this is a perfect time for you to do one of the things that I've done in teachings, which is called STOP, and it stands for sitting in silence, tuning into spirit, observe and process. Now, obviously, if you're not spiritually aware, it's a good opportunity for you to just sit in silence and just relax, because people don't realize how much they need to look after their bodies more. Even going down to, people laugh at your feet. Your feet, you stand on them all the time, and things of this nature. And it's about looking after yourself. So that's another thing that you can do, is actually start to look after yourselves a lot more, drinking lots of fluid, Looking after your body is most important. So that's some of the things that I've been doing, and it works for me. And reading, I do a lot of reading as well. So
yeah, it all sounds really important, stuff, and the exercise and all that kind of stuff is really important, not only for your physical health, but really for your mental health as well, isn't it? Obviously, and the meditation. I think I've got a feeling, I don't know whether it's true or not, but there's going to be a lot more people potentially taking up meditation during this period of time, and that's obviously going to be a wonderful thing for them and for everyone around them as well, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and meditation is not something that's new. It's just that it's become the new sort of fad amongst people. People have been meditating for centuries, but it clearly works. And we are connected to the universe. We are just pure balls of light. When we depart this world, this body stays, but the light, which we are, the energy, that goes, and that is connected to the universe. So the more that we connect to the universe, and the more that we channel and we can shift and move energy, the better we're going to feel. I would have never believed in meditation until I started on looking into it and realizing how much it can do and how much it can change you. And one of the little techniques that one of my teachers taught me was, she said, come on, let's have a look at your chakras and visualizing the colors of what you see. And actually saying, how do you see that color? It's always dirty red. So it needs a spring clean. So when you start visualizing your chakras, the colors, and if they're not the vibrant colors you're expecting, it tells you that your body needs a good overhaul. So you can actually, give them a clean in your mind's eye. And when you come out of that small meditation, you've done your little bit of cleaning, you'll see the difference in you. You'll feel more uplifted, re-energized and charged. And this is what it's all about. So yes, I do hope that people will follow these little changes in their lifestyle, because not only will it benefit them, it will benefit others.
Exactly, and that's the big thing about it as well, isn't it? It doesn't just benefit you; it benefits everyone else. So, let's move into some questions regarding you as a psychic. We wanted you to take us back to the beginning, James. How did you become a psychic? How did the gift come to you? Was it passed down by a family member, or was another way that the gift came to you?
For me, I was always aware that, sounds a bit peculiar, but I was always a bit the odd one in the family, didn't know why. And it pretty much came about when I was in my teenage years. I was a bit of a rebel leading up to my GCSEs, and I had an argument with my parents once. And I stayed up late, they'd gone to bed, and I heard this sort of bang in the kitchen. And then all of a sudden, I felt someone standing next to me in the living room while I was watching telly. It was late at night, and I seen these dark brown slippers and brown trousers, and it scared the living daylights out, because it was my late grandfather, and they were the actual same slippers and trousers he wore the night he passed, and I was there when he passed. So that was sort of my first sort of experience. But for me, it happened when I went to a fortune teller, and she did the old cards, and she said to me, "You're a psychic." I went, "Me? No, I'm not psychic." And she said, "Yes, you are." And I've been to see her over the years, and she'd never mentioned it ever in any of my readings. So I knew that there was something there. I didn't realize probably until I'd experienced some sort of trauma in my life, and I think that was my sort of spiritual awakening. And then when you feel this difference in you, as I like to call it, the quickening from the Highlander film, and that was pretty much my spiritual awakening. And then my father would say to me that it was in the family, and my aunt had it. And then other things, it was spoken about then, mentioned about one of my relatives runs a spiritualist church, and my great-grandmama was a psychic, and she could read fire, and she saw a death of her late husband, my great-grandfather, even before it happened. So it's been there within, and obviously as you get older, it started to develop without me realizing. And then sort of the one thing that sort of sticks in the back of my mind was when I met one of my exes at the time, my long-term partner, I met her mother. And the first thing she said to me, I was a psychic. I went, really? She said, yeah. She said, you are a psychic. And didn't think anything of it. And it was only pretty much I started to look into this more when I spent time with my ex's mother. And she said one night, she said, have a look at this picture. So she got me a picture, and it was of her late mother. And she said, read it for me. I said, what do you mean? She said, what do you feel with it? So I was given this information, and she said, that's right. And I went, really? She said, yeah, that's right. So then next thing, she gives me a newspaper clipping, and it's of a young girl who was, I won't mention the girl, but she was murdered. And it hit the national headlines. And as soon as I was looking at this picture of this girl, I felt as if someone was flicking my nose. And I said to my ex mother, I said, the person they're looking for, I said, is underneath the nose of the police. And I said, the person they've arrested with regards to this is the wrong person. I said, he's in the same profession as her. And then I also was getting tastes of, I could see that there was something to do with a rejection of love, etc., etc. And I never mentioned it to anyone else other than my ex's mother. So we didn't think anything of it. And at this time, the person they'd arrested for this murder, I felt they'd arrested the wrong one. And then 6 weeks later, all that I had read through the picture of this young lady who had been murdered came to light. They arrested the same person that I was describing, not with actual how he looked, but some of the things, his traits, and it was a rejection of love. And that was an experience I didn't really think anything of, but she's the only one who could validate that now to this day, if what I'm sharing with you.
And that just came from a newspaper clipping, did it?
Yeah, that was from a newspaper clipping. That was even before I had started doing any sort of teacher training with a spiritual teacher. Yeah, and it was a young girl that's known in the media because her murder went national because they arrested the wrong person.
Right.
And I got all that from the newspaper clipping.
Okay, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. Now, tell us more about the specialised areas of your psychic abilities. There's a lot of stuff listed on your website there. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please, James?
Well, one of the things that I didn't choose to do this work, Oliver. I never wanted to be a psychic. Never, ever, ever. And it was just something that happened after I'd split up with my long-term relationship. I was sort of in a dark place. And because the relationship, we'd been together for quite some time, and et cetera, and a friend of mine suggested that I look into my abilities, my spiritual awareness, that I basically put in a shoebox, put on the shelf, and forgot about it. So then she suggested I go and speak to a lady in Cheltenham called Carol Green. Carol Green, who I speak very highly of, and she helped me an awful lot. And this is going back to like 2013. And she took me on the path. So I started attending her class while I was still working in the corporate industry. But because of the pressures I was under in that job and doing spiritual awareness and development in the evenings, it was having an impact. I wasn't able to manage myself. So I was feeling sort of out of my depth. But the services that I offer, Oliver, sorry to digress, have pretty much come about since I was pushed to the limit. How I felt physically and emotionally when I went to the Arthur Findlay College, that was my make or break for me, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And since the Arthur Findlay College, I've looked at exploring other avenues within my spiritual abilities. So I've not just stuck to one. Because when I first started out, I was just doing telephone readings. I was registered on one of the national psychic networks, and that's all I wanted to do was just do the telephone readings. Nothing else appealed to me. platform work, face-to-face readings, you name it, even the picture readings and the newspaper reading didn't appeal to me. But the Arthur Findlay College was the catalyst to where I am today, and I feel blessed to have had that experience there.
That's great. Can you tell us a bit more about you've got some things, obviously, like we mentioned, listed on your homepage, on your website, about the Clairsentience, the Clairgustance, I think it is, a psychometry. Yeah. Can you explain a little bit more about that for the listeners, please?
Well, yes. I mean, I knew I was clairvoyant anyway, which is obviously the opportunity of being able to see. And then when I left the Arthur Findlay College, I had a good friend of mine who helped develop and build my website. She said to me that you need to offer a variety of services out there to make you more appealing, so you stand out in the crowd. And that's what my website is about. It doesn't mention that I do platform work. I do mediumship and platform work. So I do the public demonstrations. I've done the churches within the SNU and outside of the SNU. But the actual services that I offer are pretty much all thanks to me developing my own gifts, knowing that my light wasn't just about clairvoyance, that I do have clairsentience, I do have clairgustance, I have claircognizance, I have clairaudience, I have all the various clairs, and it's just that I've been allowed to develop and explore, as I call it, my psychic toolbox. So I'm not just about one thing. And that's why I have all these variety of services on there that try and tick a box for every person, because a lot of my clients don't want to give anything, which is natural. You don't want to give me anything. Mm-hmm. And some say, I don't want you to see my pictures. That's fine, no problem. We'll pick a date, we'll pick a time that's convenient for you, and we'll do the telephone reading. Or they say, I don't want to speak to you. I said, well, that's all right. Nobody wants to speak to me anyway. So I said, well, we'll do a WhatsApp reading. I said, well, that's just exchanging of words, and I chat away, and you say yes or no over the messenger. Email readings, it's basically I link into the energy of the photograph. All I need is the person's name, first name only, date of birth, and the question. And then I link in and let my guides come through with the information that they're sharing with me. And then I write it, I scribble it down. I've got such awful writing. I think I was a spider in a past life, the way I write. And then I'm like, what on earth have I wrote? And it's going across the page, down the page. I think, gee, it's like one of those dot to dots. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of put that all together, and then I forward it then to the client. So there's lots of various services on there as well I offer, apart from, obviously, I mentioned I do mediumship and I do public demonstrations. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I've done a lot of trance work as well. So my toolbox it's quite big, but I enjoy doing it. And I do card readings as well. Mm-hmm. So, and you mentioned psychometry. Yes, I need to obviously pick up a physical object. But yes, I'm exploring different parts of my light, what I've not really touched a lot on, and obviously to grow that. So I'm always looking. I've done ribbon readings and anything, scrying with water, crystal ball, pendulum. So you name it. I like to add lots of chinks to my armor. Sure.
Just explain about this psychometry. So that's actually taking an object of somebody's and connecting Absolutely. The energy through that to that person, isn't it?
Yes, right. It's basically most people, it's like a watch, a piece of jewelry, right, item of clothing, and then you connect to the energy. I mean, from my own experience, my father put a ring on my finger many years ago. It was a gold ring, and I didn't realize that it belonged to my grandfather, the one I saw passed, because no one else had actually worn the ring since he had passed. I felt the energy still connected to the ring, and I was having a heart attack. I could actually see him lying on the bed in the mortuary, and there was lots of other things, and my mum was that worried that she was going to phone 999 because she thought I was having a heart attack, and it was all because of the ring which was only on my small finger, but because of the energy, and I was able to obviously link into it, all that over the years had stored within the ring was still there. So I was able to interpret it and feel it, and my word, I've never put that ring on my finger since. So that's what psychometry is. So it could be any object. Doesn't have to be a piece of jewelry, or it could be an item of clothing or something that belongs to that person.
But can you do this potentially? So can you see an item? Obviously, in the current situation that we're in at the moment, we can't do face-to-face readings. Can you see an object if someone sends you a picture of a ring or a watch or something like that? Does it work that way as well, or not really?
I can most certainly try, Oliver.
Yeah.
I had done it for a friend of mine once. She lost her Rolex, and it was a Rolex, and she asked me, and this was a few years ago, and I painstakingly tried to link into it, and she searched high and low in the house, and from what I can remember when I told my friend about this, I seen it stored in a black bag of something. I was able to tell her that the Rolex watch was still in the house, and I think it was in the loft or something of that nature, but I was able to pinpoint where it was, and lo and behold, my friends did find her watch, her Rolex.
That's great. It's great that you can do that as well without having to have the object. That's amazing. Well, that's going to move us nicely into the break now. We're having a great chat here with James Levesconte, psychic medium, and we're very much looking forward to hearing more from James in part 2. So we'll see you after this.
This is Psychic Social, where the world's best psychics tell you their story.
Hi, hope you're enjoying the show today. Now, we have a brand new horoscope email you can subscribe to at psychic.co.uk. All you have to do is wait for the pop-up to show on the website and then enter your email and star sign, and every Sunday night we'll email you a free horoscope for the week ahead. Now, you can dive in one step further if you wish and take a look at our Horoscope Plus memberships. This is your weekly horoscope plus a lot more. There are 3 memberships to choose from, and we've covered all budgets, we feel. So the Robin membership gives you private, exclusive access to a more detailed horoscope on the member horoscope pages at the website, and a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom each month. And you'll get a free access code as well to the taster version of our amazing video tarot course with Nikki Allen, 10-Hour Tarot. Now, this membership is just £1.99 per month, and you can cancel it anytime you like. There's a ton of stuff in there for such a small amount of money, so much value. The next membership we've got is the Feather membership. It's a step up from there, and it's just £5.99 per month, and you can also cancel anytime for that one too. Now, as a Feather member, you'll get a much more detailed, in-depth horoscope than the Robin membership horoscope. And on that Feather member horoscope page on the website, you'll get exclusive access to that with over 1,000 words of horoscope broken down into 3 sections. That's including romance, work and family. It really will give you a fantastic insight into the week ahead every single week. You'll also get our truly amazing astrology video. That's thrown in for free as well, which is 30 minutes of fantastic content on astrology. And as with the Robin membership, you'll also get a chance to win a psychic reading via Zoom every month too. So that's wonderful value in there as well for $5.99 a month for the Feather membership. And the final membership is the Angel member. That's the top level membership to access on the site. That gives you some amazing stuff, and all that info is on the website. Just head to psychic.co.uk/membership and take a look at which one will suit you. We'll put the link in the show notes of this podcast down below for you, so you can just click there and check them all out there. You can also check out the horoscope page and have a little sneak peek at what the Robin members are getting there already. That's at psychic.co.uk/horoscope. Right, now back to the show.
This is Psychic Social, the spiritual home of psychics.
Welcome back to part 2 of Psychic Social and our chat with James Levesconte, psychic medium. Now, we've been hearing some great stories in the first half. We heard more about James's mediumship. He told us a little bit about his guides. Can you tell us a bit more about your guides, James? Do you have one or many? How does that work for you?
I've got many guides, Oliver. One particular guide who's been there for quite some time. His name's George, and how I've seen you show me is a military person. I would say very much like the Lord Kitchener poster, that type of person that he was. He wasn't Lord Kitchener. Mm-hmm. But yeah, he's come through many a times, worked with me. He's got a very, very sort of, how can I put it, strong personality, can be a bit sort of cheeky with some of his comments as well. I've also had a guide as well from the Roman times of Zephyr. He was a centurion. There's also been a few other guides. I've even had one of the famous native Indians, Red Cloud, has stepped in once or twice. My great-grandmama I spoke about, she's occasionally come in. Even my late son in spirit, Bradley, he's come through once or twice to help, especially where it's children involved, purely because of the sensitive side of things. And I have a new guide who's stepped in, is Joseph. I know very little about him. But yes, I've had a few interesting characters stepping in. And there's another lady, an oldish lady. I've got to be careful because I don't want to insult her because she won't speak to me. Enid. And she was mentioned to me as well when I was at the Arthur Findlay College as well. So, yes, I've had an interesting plethora of guides.
Okay. When a new guide comes into you, how do they kind of present themselves? How do they arrive to you? Is it clairvoyantly, clairaudiently, or a combination of all those things? And do they kind of give you a sort of breakdown of who they are and where they've been and where they've come from and how they're going to help you? How does that work when a new guide comes in?
My own guides, when they'll show up, it will be in a case of when I'm doing a meditation and things of that. They'll show themselves. If I don't ask anything about them, they won't tell me. But I've learned lots of things, which is little things. We're going into my usual guided meditation. I have a sort of routine. I take myself on a journey as such. Very much like when you leave home to go to school, you go the same journey every time. So I've had that experience as well. And there's little things as well. Or just the way I'm working, completely different. Something will come in. And share that with me. So I've been able to obviously build up a portfolio of knowledge about who my guides are. I don't always ask them what they do because sometimes I feel it's a bit sort of too personal, but they're an open book. But I mean, one of the great things is to be blessed with is having my great grandmama come through occasionally to help and support me. And I work with the angels as well. Shannon, I've worked with a lot as well. So as I call them rent-a-mob, because sometimes once they start linking into me and they start talking, they never stop. Mm-hmm. So, mm-hmm. But I'm eternally grateful and blessed to have them with me, because I wouldn't be where I am without my team and the angels of the highest realm working with me.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I totally understand that. Now, you mentioned earlier a couple of times about the Arthur Findlay College.
Yes.
Can you tell the listeners a bit more about that, how that works, and if you've got any stories from that particular part of your life?
Yes. I mean, well, my aunt told me of the Arthur Findlay College many years ago, and I went and had a psychic assessment with an Irish lady called Moira O'Dwyer, and she said it would be in my interests to go to Arthur Findlay College. So I looked up for a course to see what would be there, and one particular courses was advanced mediumship. Now, I never wanted to do this work, Oliver. I hated platform work. I have voice recording evidence when I had a reading many, many years ago saying how mediumship and my psychic ability was strong, and there was no way you were going to get me out in front of Joe Public doing demonstrations. It wasn't my thing. But this course, Advanced Mediumship, would teach you how to do these things. So And that's what I did. And it was very much sort of my own experience of being in boarding school. Start, up at 8 o'clock, breakfast, start at 9, you finish at 9, you have your individual breaks. But my word, that course, it either makes you or breaks you. And I felt so lost when that course finished on that Saturday. It was like breaking up from a long-term partner. It left you in such a place, but it had such a profound experience on myself that I nearly quit the whole course purely because on the Tuesday, and I'd been there since Saturday, it just wasn't working for me. Couldn't get anything right, and my teacher was Val Williams, and I was myself and one other male. So sat down for lunch, and I said to my friends on the table, I said, look, I'm going after lunch. They went, why? I said, I've had enough. I'm going. 5 o'clock, my suitcase is packed already, I'm off. So I went back upstairs to freshen up. And at the time, I was only working with one guy, George. I said to George, hey, if you don't help me and you are going to fall out big time, and I'm never working with you again, and I'm leaving this work for good. That afternoon then, myself and the other male student, we had to get up. Val's there watching us, bless her, and she's got her eye on me and him. He goes first, and then Val says, come on, it's your turn. So I get up, does my introduction. And as I'm standing now in front of a group, there's about 15 of us, and I'm nervous. My heart is beating like a big brass band. It's like going on your first date with someone you really like, and you want it to work so much. And all of a sudden, like my arm went sort of dropped, and I thought, what's this? And I felt this handbag, this beautiful clutch handbag on my arm. And I was describing in literalistic detail, and I've never done that before in detail of such. I was having a look in the bag, and I knew I was with this particular lady in the audience, professional medium. And one thing or another, I was describing it. I had the street address she took, describing this lady that she took, and then I brought in this name, and I gave her this name, and then all of a sudden she starts to cry. And she was quite emotional. I was getting emotional, kept with it, and a few other things, and then we ended the reading. And I only brought in her mother, who had committed suicide at such a young age that she'd been to so many various mediums across the world. And no other medium could actually bring in her mother. And I actually brought her mother in, standing in my energy. And I'm getting goosebumps as I'm sharing this with you now. And from that moment, that Tuesday afternoon in June 2018, was the catalyst to where I am today. It was that sliding door moment, that make or break, whether I stay with this work or I quit. And if I quit, I wouldn't have come back. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it left me for the rest of the week in such a place that, oh my word, it was incredible. Mm. Even my own notes that I kept in my book, because I've got a book that I keep all my notes in. It's like my book of shadows, because of my lineage, that I write everything there in it, and that was it.
That's a lovely story, and it's obviously, you were meant to carry on along that path, weren't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we wanted to ask you, off the back of that, we ask all our guests that we have on Psychic Social this question. We want to know what your thoughts are about the afterlife, and what happens to us when we leave Earth. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm a firm believer in the afterlife. I've had many lives. One of my own lives is that I've been a witch, a male witch, twice. I've even got the witch's pentagram on my headline of the palm of my hand and my foot. So if that's not validation, I don't know what is. I feel a lot of the things from our past lives affect the lives as we are today, so our fears and things of that nature. I do believe that when we do pass to the spirit world, our lives are played back very much like in a VCR. Fast forward to this part when you did this, did that. So I do get that feeling that we do get judged on our life that we've lived, as I say, renting this body that we're in now. And if you have been of a pleasant person who's not been the most pleasant, I believe you go to a darker light. And again, if you go to a darker light if you don't repent your sins. So I do believe that, but I'm also a firm believer that you have so many lives that you have to live. So whether it's you have 20 lives, 30 lives, 40 lives, and you live out those lives. So, and that's what my own firm belief is. But yes, I do believe that we do come back. I do believe in reincarnation. And I do believe if we don't understand and learn our lessons in this life, then we're coming back to learn those lessons. So yes, I'm a firm believer that our past lives have an effect on us. That it is just what it is. My own fear of water. I've always had a fear of water, and then I went and saw a lady in Cirencester, and she took me on one of my journeys regarding water. And this is how I learnt about my past with regards to being a witch, male witch. And she said that I used to hunt witches. I thought, great, I'm a witch hunter now.
Right. Okay.
And she said all the good witches, the innocent ones, were persecuted by the duck and stool, and all the bad witches were saved. And she said you used to observe watching those witches being persecuted, drowning. And I've always had a fear of water, being on the water's edge. And if you think, years ago I was cabin crew for over 3 years, and I had a fear of water. God, my passengers wouldn't have got on the plane. But
yeah.
But that experience of having that, and I put it to the test last year, Oliver, when I went fishing. I deliberately put my seat box on the water's edge, which I'd never do, sat there, and the water fear had gone. Because before I'd be afraid of being pushed in or falling in. I had no fear whatsoever. So I do believe that lady had allowed me to shift that karmic past out of me, and now I don't have that fear of water anymore. So sharing that not only with you but with the listeners, it's something that's changed me as well as a person, that I don't have that fear.
That's interesting. And sort of what sort of time period are we talking about in terms of when you say your past life as a witch? What sort of time period are we talking about?
I was a witch in the 9th and the 13th century.
Right.
I've also been a young boy. I drowned in my grandparents' backyard. I must have been about 3 or 4. I had a balloon in my hand, and I was looking at the koi's swimming around, and boy of that age, mischievous, looking over, leans over, loses his balloon. Feeling is that what's it like when your soul is taken from it? It's very much like having your vacuum cleaner put on high and then putting your hand over it. The suction, it's so quick, you're gone.
Did this come, the past life knowledge, did it come through your own psychic abilities, or did you have, were you regressed through hypnosis or anything like that?
It was regression. The experience with regards to the water, the lady who I actually went to see, I was recommended. We just went on a journey through her backyard. I mean, she got acres of land. And it was a hot summer's day, and luckily enough, I didn't wear any shorts because I would have been completely stingified with stinging nettles. But she was quite sort of used to it. But she wasn't a psychic or a light worker, but she was able to connect in to the energy, and she was able to relay this back to me, and I wrote it all down in my book.
Well, it's great to hear all this stuff and all this information you've given us on the show regarding your psychic experiences and your psychic mediumship. We're going to leave that all to one side now, and we're going to ask you a bit more about you. So just wanted to know a little bit about you in terms of any kind of books that you've read recently that you could recommend, or any kind of box sets you're watching, anything you're into on any of these streaming platforms at all?
What am I doing? Reading at the moment. I'm reading a very, very rare book, which is called The Book of Knowledge, The Keys of Enoch, that a very, very good friend that I met at the Arthur Finney College, she went and bought it for me and sent it over from the USA, and she left the price ticket in it, which I wasn't too pleased about, but because it's a very expensive book. That's one book I'm currently reading. Mentioned earlier about the Gratitude Diaries. That's a book I've read by Janice Kaplan. there's a good book out there if people want to get into the LOA, laws of attraction. It's called The Source by Tara Swart. Now, she is actually a qualified psychologist, so she takes the laws of attraction from the scientific side of it and not the spiritual side. So if people think, oh, yes, it's all about, psychics and spiritualism, nothing of the sorts. And one book as well, I'm just going to say I'm reading, and he's actually a friend of mine within the spiritual work, is a gentleman called Chris Howarth, and he's a physical medium, and his book is called The Vision, the Voice, and it's very much the story of his life, his journey within the spiritual world, and his sort of awakening to spirit. That's another book, and then hopefully I will get around to writing mine. Whether or not people will want to pick it up and read it is another thing.
I'm sure they will.
I do feel I've got lots to share, and I'm a firm believer in sharing.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Sure. And do you watch much TV at all, or box sets, or any kind of soaps or anything you're into?
Oh, soaps? You mean like Imperial Leather?
Yeah, that's the one. Lux. Yeah, no. Just like anything you're kind of watching. A lot of people are kind of into, watching, getting into various things like Game of Thrones and things like that. Does that grab you, or is it not really your thing?
Game of Thrones is not my my bag. Homeland, I've been watching. Mm-hmm. I've also been watching. I've managed to find it on YouTube, and it's about paranormal and spiritual happenings, even with the Sasquatch in America. I think it's called The Woods Are Haunted. True stories of people, not actors, sharing their experiences of coming into contact. People being very, very foolish and stupid, dabbling with the Ouija board, but also people coming into contact with Bigfoot. And some of the footage quite startling, the amount of sightings that have been recorded, not just in America, but across the world. But this series I found, season 1 and season 2, very, very good. But
yeah, I've seen some of those, Bigfoot stuff. I've seen some ones that look fairly convincing, and then ones that just, unbelievable, you wouldn't believe,
Trash TV.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Okay, well, that's great stuff. Thank you, James. And finally, where can people find you? Can you tell people where they can get hold of you? So your website, your social media, anything else that you're kind of selling on your website at the moment?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my website is jameslevesconte-psychicmedium.co.uk. I do have an Instagram account. I think that is the same. I mean, it's James Levesconte. I don't do much with Twitter. I'm not a Twitcher or anything of that nature. I find Twitter annoying. But Facebook, I can be reached as well, same James Levesconte. But my website, you can find it quite easily. And you can see my reviews on there as well and things like that. And I'm looking to start running a blog as well from my website as well, because I am set up to write blogs. But I do try and shun away from blogs, but I keep getting prompted by friends to say, look, you need to share with others what's going on with you. And I'm really, people interested in me? And they say, yeah, they would be. So, yes.
It's a great way to get content on your website, not only for people to read, but for search engines to like and things like that as well. So yeah, it's a positive thing to do. Well, I'm going to put all those links in the show notes on the website, so everyone who is listening can click on those links and find all those books and all your links to your website and social media. But I'd like to say thank you very much for joining us today, James. It's been great having a chat with you on Psychic Social, and hopefully at some point in the future you might come on and record a part 2 with us at some point. We can have maybe a deep dive into another realm of something else there in terms of psychic mediumship. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on, and take care of yourself in these current times, and we'll speak with you again soon.
Thank you, Oliver. Thank you for this opportunity. And yes, I'd like to do that if the listeners would be interested. Then yeah, absolutely. I'd love to do a part 2. And yes.
Thank you, James, and we'll chat with you again soon.
Thank you, Oliver.
Thanks for joining us on Psychic Social from psychic.co.uk, the spiritual home of psychics.